Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Top 10 Week, and I want to thank each and every one of you who on the video that was announcing this week really responded with a lot of vigor and a lot of real excitement for this week. It's because of your comments that some of these videos are going to be coming to you, and that some of these lists are going to be compiled. I'm going to try to get to a number of the fan-related ones as opposed to ones that are just my own. However, for right now, there's one that I want to address that was only really mentioned by one person. However, I think that this is one that is really kind of important. This one is for the top 10 current metal musicians, or the top 10 current metal bands, rather. And this is one that is very similar in vein to the top 10 worst current musicians video that I posted a couple of weeks ago. And because of this, I also want to kind of give this the subtext of the top 10 reasons right now to get into heavy metal as far as bands are concerned. Yeah, I know that there's going to be a lot of dispute on this one, especially from people who are a little bit younger and have a little bit of a different vision of what I guess metal is all about. But this, at least for me, is the top 10 current metal bands and also the top 10 reasons to get into the genre. Number 10, we're going to go with Steel Panther. The reason why is because over the past couple of months, really ever since Balls Out came out, these guys have definitely proven themselves to be for real. And they've really gotten a lot of attention from audiences around the world. They've started to chart, and they're really showcasing an era of metal that a lot of people thought was gone, and that was the era of glam metal, only they've kind of taken it up a notch. They've taken that whole glam metal idea, and instead of disguising things around clever innuendo and sad little ballady songs, basically said the things that a lot of these glam metal musicians wanted to say, but of course, considering they were commercial artists at the time, really did not have the freedom nor the power to do so. These guys, their lyrics are exceptionally explicit. Not to mention, it's all about partying, drugs, having a lot of sex, fucking a lot of people, and basically throwing in pop culture references here and there. Actually, in Tomorrow Night, they make an Angry Birds reference, if you can believe that, which is really cool. Not to mention also references to Charlie Sheen, Iron Maiden, Kiefer Sutherland, Tiger Woods, just to name a few. A lot of them I actually was able to just present to you from one song. Yeah, these guys are definitely a reason to be excited about the heavy metal genre because, for one, it shows that it doesn't exactly have to take itself all of that seriously. They can have a lot of fun, really just, making songs about partying and being ridiculous, and they don't have to have chugga-chugga breakdowns in order to do it. They can actually do it with good old-fashioned glam metal 1980s style musicianship. Number 9 is Cannibal Corpse. Yeah, some people might think Cannibal Corpse is old hat. They might think that some of their best material was really released in the 1990s, but I really think that some of their better material and some of their, the material that's really bringing even more people in has just been recently released with albums such as Torture and Kill. I really think that it's getting a bunch of individuals that you would never think would listen to Cannibal Corpse either back into the band or into the band for the very first time. I remember working at the store that I work at, seeing somebody come in with a suit and tie, real business-like type of individual, asking them if they needed any help, and they said no. And after about 5 or 7 minutes, they came up to the register, and what were they holding? That's right, Torture by Cannibal Corpse. It was a really fucking cool moment. Not to mention, it really showcases that this band has had a powerful allure, a powerful grip on the death metal, or really just the metal community, for over 2 decades now. So yeah, this is definitely a reason to get into heavy metal. They are explicit in their album covers, and their lyrics, and their subject matter, but who gives a shit? This is what metal's all about. Number 8, Isan. Of course, he was an emperor, now he's gone solo, and now 3 albums in, or actually 4, I believe, this man has really showcased that pushing the boundaries is basically his middle name. You might as well just say his name is Isan Pushing the Boundaries of Metal. There you go. There's his new name. He's really been able to execute a really, really great blend of progressive and black metal, really kind of tooling the two together in order to really just create this new frontier that a lot of bands have been kind of experimenting on within some of their records. And, he's kind of showcased how it's done, I guess, so to speak. Being a part of Emperor, he has a lot of experience in kind of pushing the boundaries of a genre that seemed to be very, I guess, monochrome. A lot of people look at black metal and consider it to be one certain thing. However, whenever Emperor released records such as Prometheus, The Discipline of Fire and Demise, people were blown away by this record, mainly because it was just so damn different. You listen to albums such as Anthems of the Welcome at Dusk, or, 9 Equilibrium, and you just realize that this guy and really the band themselves had a really, really nice pulse for what was going on, and kind of taking that one step further, that one step additionally, in order to kind of make it really new and fresh. And with his solo work, he's only been taking that step even further, all the more. Going more into the progressive territory. He also has a couple of other solo or side projects that go along with it. So this guy's been busy. Number 7 is Agalloch. Agalloch has been one of the most impressive and important bands of the 2000s, and pushing into the 20-teens, they're going to only continue to do that. Marrow of the Spirit was an exceptional record, one that I definitely recommend that you check out. If you haven't checked out The Mantle by them from the early part of the 2000s, what the hell are you waiting for? These guys really deliver a nice atmospheric blend of metal. You could throw folk in there, you could throw black metal, you could throw traditional progressive metal, you could throw a lot of different tools in there, but Agalloch has really kind of taken this idea of atmosphere and somewhat of a post-metal idea and really just taken it to the next level. And that's the reason why they're one of those bands that you really should be excited about. Not enough people, I think, really have a firm respect for this band. I think they're a band that enters their lips and they have a recognition of the band. However, the appreciation level isn't there because they really haven't dove into their entire discography. They haven't gone all the way back to Pale Folklore and realized where these guys kind of came from, and the evolutions and the steps that they have kind of taken ever since albums such as those in order to get to where they are today. Definitely a fantastic band, one that constantly is on my tongue at work, one that I wish that we had a lot more material by. Number 6 is Megadeth. The reason why they're on here as opposed to a Metallica or a Slayer is because these guys have been putting forth consistent new material for a long period of time. They've had their hiatuses, they've had their periods where the band looked like they was dead, but for some strange reason it always gets resurrected. Dave Mustaine just can't stay away. And yeah, we know that Dave wasn't exactly the biggest supporter of, well, our current president, but that doesn't really matter. It's all about the music. The music is definitely one thing, and really he showcased that he was unbiased with all of his criticisms of the Bush administration. But politics aside, Megadeth still is considered to be one of the most consistent bands out there. And even though there's some bumps in the highway there, a lot of people didn't like albums such as Risk or Cryptic Writings, which I like both of them. I thought they were both pretty decent. These are all albums that have led to Megadeth kind of immortalizing themselves as one of the most important bands to ever come out of the heavy metal universe. And it's something that just continues. They continue to write new material. 13 was definitely a very solid release that had quirky little moments, but at the same time was just very powerful, very straightforward, very thrashy, and they continue to impress on the road. All fantastic reasons to get into heavy metal and to get into Megadeth. Number 5 is Enslaved. Enslaved would have probably been lower on this list, perhaps at the turn of the 2000s, but let me tell you something. Ever since the release of Below the Lights, these guys have just been pushing boundaries left and right. You can almost call them space black metal or space progressive black metal pioneers, because these guys have just taken the concept of black metal and just kind of like how Eson had done it, have just continued to push the envelope further and further into progressive territory, kind of going into a little bit of that spacey ambience that I was talking about whenever I introduced the band, just really, really taking this stuff to one hell of a territory. They've already won Album of the Year from me for Axoma Ethica Odine back in 2010, I believe, and they just continue to just impress. Retire from last year was a very, very good album, and these guys are phenomenal live. They are a fantastic band, and they definitely can outschool some of the best of the genre. I saw them with Dimmu Borgir a couple of years ago, and let me tell you, they were the reason I was there, not Dimmu Borgir, and they definitely proved why that was. Number 4, Kreator. Kreator's Phantom Antichrist, you might as well just call it a nice welcome back fuck you to the entire metal community that maybe wrote these guys up. I don't think that many people really, did that, considering they've been releasing solid albums ever since the turn of the 2000s. It seems to be a running theme. However, it's definitely one for the ages. It's one that definitely sparks something inside of you. One that really invigorates your soul and kind of makes you want to change the world in some way, shape, or form, or just basically, break shit. Either way, these guys definitely have showcased themselves to be the same band that wrote fucking masterpieces all across the 1980s and the first part of the 1990s before kind of swaying away and going into a little bit more of a sort of pseudo-industrial sound. It was kind of a weird little experimental period for the band, but hey, there's a lot of bands that have done that, and Kreator still wrote some pretty good material during that time frame. Kreator is a band to get influenced and get really, really psyched about because if you go to see, Testament or Overkill or one of these other bands that decides to really go along with them on the tour, it's definitely one of those experiences that will leave you thinking, damn, I really need to get their material. You can throw Overkill at this number 4 position as well, because damn, they are a phenomenal band live. Not to mention, it doesn't matter how old they get, they just keep on releasing kick-ass albums. There's no reason to complain. They're underground heroes, and they shouldn't be underground heroes. These guys should be one of those bands that is on the lips of each and every metal fan, because Overkill is one of the most classic bands that you can ever pick up. Albums such as The Years of Decay, some people might really not enjoy all of that much because they're longer compositions, kind of getting into what that second wave of thrash metal did with bands such as Heathen, doing those longer compositions. But damn, think about the albums that have come out ever since then. Think about albums such as Bloodletting. Think about Killbox 13. Think about the thrashterpiece that was Ironbound. Damn. Number 3, Mastodon. Mastodon is one of those bands that has not released a bad album ever since they started. It's definitely one of those things where they continue to push boundaries and they continue to do things a little bit differently on each album. They continue to kind of experiment with their sound a little bit. Of course, with Crack the Sky, they did a little bit more of an epic progressive metal, almost concept album. And then with their most previous album, they were able to do something that kind of resembled a little bit more of a conventional record. So they're definitely a band that is willing to take some leaps of faith and really have just produced some really awesome stuff. Somebody asked me what some of the best albums to smoke up to would be. Mastodon's definitely a band that I would put on that list. I might actually do that one, but maybe not for this week, but Mastodon's definitely a band, man. Definitely throw on some Mastodon, toke up some of your favorite weed, and away you go. Maybe the octopus will finally have some fucking friends. I doubt it, though. Number 2, Opeth. Opeth is one of the most consistent bands that are around. Even with Heritage being such a significantly different album, I don't understand why people thought it was such a significantly different album. Remember Watershed? Remember the real kind of change that was coming with Watershed? Remember Ghost Reveries? Ghost Reveries sounded different than what you heard on Deliverance and Blackwater Park. The shift is coming. It's just the fact that Heritage kind of did it a little bit more blatantly. It was a little bit more in your face. Ever since Orchid was released in the 1990s, these guys have been one hell of an empire. And they've built and built and built. And even though some people have booed the Heritage material, they've still stuck by the band. They've still gone to the shows. And whenever the next Opeth record comes out, you can bet your ass they'll still be in line to pick it up. Mainly because these guys really just tread the boundaries that some metal bands are unwilling to tread. They're willing to go into that old-style progressive rock side, that old 1970s side, that really, is obscured, I guess, for a reason, because it's not really for everybody, but they're willing to bring it back to the surface, because I think they kind of want to resurrect it. And it's happening. It's crazy what's going on with this. Consider bands such as Astra. Yeah, they might not have been directly influenced by Opeth, but they're kind of doing that similar sound that you heard on Heritage. That similar old-style prog rock. And then consider a band such as Pharmakon, that cited Still Life by Opeth to be their favorite album of all time, and one of the main reasons why they took on the element that they did for the 2 albums that they released. And damn, Pharmakon was a hell of a band. May they rest in peace. I really wish that they were still around. And that brings us to number 1, Iron Maiden. Iron Maiden is one of the bands that you will always, always love, but considering they're still doing stuff, you might as well enjoy it, and you might as well be excited for heavy metal because of this band. This band's legendary status is unlike any other. This band's ability to really drive a commercial empire is also unlike any other. And this band's ability to be consistent, even whenever not in the most ideal of situations, is definitely unlike any other. Consider albums such as No Prayer for the Dying or Fear of the Dark, the ones that are considered to be, the stinkers. They're still pretty damn good by comparison to a lot of other metal albums, and they're considered the stinkers in this band's discography. Consider the 2 albums that were done with Blaze Bayley. The X Factor is considered by fans to be pretty damn awesome. And while Virtual 11 is probably, an inconsistent favorite, or just an inconsistent album in general, I would probably say that it's only about 60% decent, it's still pretty damn good because the songs that really resonate with you are fantastic. Ever since they've adopted this larger formula, this 3 guitar player, 6 member formula, which happened with Brave New World at the turn of the 2000s, god damn, this band has become even more awesome because that whole little progression idea has kind of tweaked its way in. The compositions have gotten a little bit longer, but god damn have they gotten amazing. This is a band for the ages. You're not going to see another band like this. So enjoy it while it lasts, and definitely go see some Iron Maiden, crank some Iron Maiden, and buy some motherfucking Iron Maiden. I gotta say, some honorable mentions in this category would go to bands such as Orphan Land, and that's basically for the storyline, and not to mention because they're an amazing, amazing foreign group. One that's definitely willing to push the boundaries of their own religion and own laws just to play the music that they love. Baroness for really just proving themselves to take on large projects such as a double album and really execute them extremely well. I'll say for just being... he's really bringing the idea of post-metal to the fold. I mean, we have had bands that have done this in the past. However, this is the guy that is getting a lot of people into this idea. There's going to be a lot of contemporaries to this gentleman that are going to be popping up over the next couple of years. You just wait. Watain, you just need to release the new goddamn album. But black metal is going to be so fucking awesome because of these guys and more. But these are 10 reasons to get into metal. I know that there's more. You know that there's more. Why didn't I mention Slayer or Metallica? Because Slayer is inconsistent, and Metallica released Lulu and Saint Anger. That's enough of a reason. Yeah, I know that they're classic artists, but those aren't reasons why I'm getting excited in the metal. They're pop culture tongues. They're things that are always on the minds of the individuals that are out there, even those that don't directly love metal. If you love metal and you love Metallica, that's great, but there's going to be people out there that wouldn't list metal as one of their, high priorities. They're still going to listen to Metallica and Slayer just because it's, Metallica and Slayer. So there you have it, guys. 10 reasons to be excited for heavy metal. 10 reasons to get into heavy metal. 10 of the best heavy metal bands on the planet today.